boys and men are struggling. You know, you say that openly and you hear a wince or a sneer. It's just not welcomed in polite circles. I think Andrew Tate overall is not helping the issue for a number of reasons. He's deeply misogynistic. I think he indexes way too high on instrumental values such as money, status, and I also don't think it's what boys and men need.
I like him. I think he's a great role model to kids because I'm in his Hustlers University, and I see the people that are in there from the age range of 12 years old to 65 years old, and they're all hustling, making money.
You know, I watched how my dad, I watched how my granddad, a karate teacher growing up, I watched how they would handle problems. I kind of built myself off of that. Like, that's kind of how I learned. If I didn't have all that structure, I don't know what I would have been doing.
And that was the biggest factor, you know, that I realized that I can't be out on the streets now that I'm learning a skill and getting better skill, just beating up anybody, right? I'm now using that in a self-defense situation. I'm not going to go try to start a fight. So I took that value away from him, you know, my coach at the time.
But it's so infused into his messaging that you cannot discern the two. Like in the karate teacher, I doubt the karate teacher is telling him, Joe, at a young age, his most controversial opinions. Whereas Tate is letting everything loose and staying it as it's all like truth.
I want to become the richest man in the world off of what he has to say, and I want to be able to provide for my family, you know, help pay off my parents' house, help do things I got to do, become physically specimen, the best version of myself, mentally and physically, and enjoy life.
I went to LaSalle High School. Marty Jackson was a huge role model for me. So it's not that they weren't there. I just didn't have many to look for. And so at the time when I was in college, you know, that's when I finally came across Andy Frisella, and that's when I started to become open to and really just dove into like the MFCO project. I know, Carmen, you did the same.
And to quickly turn it back to just the point that story is, and what a theme of, I believe, last year or 2 years ago was for me, was leaving the boy behind. Not to be degrading to boys in any way, but leaving the boyish behaviors behind, of always acting on impulse.
There's clearly a problem, and what we're doing isn't working.
Yeah.
So, you know, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we need to do something different. And
You can't do this anymore. Like, it's time to grow up. You're 22 now. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's okay in college. It's not okay anymore when you're a professional and adult. And I realized at that moment I was acting that way because I just hated my job. So you change jobs, change your routine around. And I think back to Carmen's point about depression, I think a lot of it too comes down to like, what kind of structure do you have in your life?
But wherever that is, that doesn't take away from like you having the power to do what you believe is best for you and taking that into your own hands. And your environment is going to vary and drastically differ, but it doesn't mean you can't improve your life. And I